Do you want to be the best version of yourself possible? No? Okay, have a nice day, bye. Wait, what, you do? Okay, great, because this week I'm talking about how a growth focus can help you to have better mental health and help you to become the best version of yourself possible. So, let's talk about mental health. Hello and welcome. I'm Jeremy Godwin and I share simple ideas for better mental health every Wednesday here on Let's Talk About Mental Health TV and every Sunday on the Let's Talk About Mental Health podcast, which has listeners in 135 countries worldwide. Thanks so much for joining me today. This week, I'm talking about ways that you can incorporate a growth focus into your day-to-day life, and I'll be talking about how that will benefit you in the long term. So let's talk about that benefit thing first. Are you the same person that you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago? It's fairly unlikely because change is the one constant in life. Well, I mean, aside from taxes, death, and reality TV shows, turning storylines into drama just to try to get you to keep on watching. Anyway, change, there was a point. Change usually helps us to grow, and it actually forces us to grow whether we like it or not, unless we resist it, in which case we often end up becoming quite bitter and frustrated with life, which, let's be honest, is not the best way to live life, and I'm hoping that that is not someone who you want to be, and that's why you're watching this video. So there is a really great quote by Karen Kaiser Clark, who I've used many times in my podcast before, and it is, life is change, growth is optional, choose wisely. And that's the thing, change is going to happen whether we like it or not. Today is a completely different day than it was yesterday. Things are totally different than they were a year ago, 10 years ago, whatever. I mean, hopefully you get my point. I don't think I need to labor that too much, but you have a choice whether or not you're going to grow. So like I said before, some people refuse to grow. Some people stay the exact same person that they were in high school or primary school in some cases. So this piece about growing really is up to you. So let's talk about a few different ways that you can have a growth focus every single day. And I'm going to start with reflect daily. Reflection is one of my absolute all-time favorite topics that I talk about 1,000 times a week in the podcast, and I've talked about it a lot on this show as well. It is when you actually sit back and consider what has or hasn't happened in an objective and thoughtful way. There's no judgment, there's no criticizing yourself, there's no focusing on things that you cannot change because the past has passed and it cannot be changed. But it's an opportunity for you to really look at things and think to yourself, okay, what would I like to do more of in this, whatever it is, in the future? What would I like to do less of? What do I need to do differently next time for a different outcome? And where are my opportunities to grow? Now that's something that you can easily do in just a few minutes every single night. Grab yourself a pen and paper, or even just pick up your phone and take a couple of minutes to reflect on the day and consider what were your one or two big highlights of the day, the big positive things that happened, and what were your one or two learning opportunities. So I'm not talking about mistakes. I'm not interested in mistakes. Mistakes are just simply learning opportunities. They're only mistakes if you keep on repeating them without growing from them. So just think about what happened during the day, and if anything maybe didn't go the way that you hoped that it would, or that there were challenges that you had to face, really just think about what is the lesson that I can take away from this and apply next time when I'm faced with a similar situation. When you do that, that's how you grow. So that brings me to my second point, which is to learn from the past. The past is a really interesting place. First of all, it has passed, so it cannot be changed, and it is what it is. So it's kind of, at this point, it's set in stone. And that can be really challenging because there might be things that you wanted to do differently. You can't, I'm sorry to break that to you, but what's done is done. However, what it presents for you is a real opportunity because the past will not change. What you can do is actually learn from it. It is a fixed point in time that you're able to look back on and actually really consider objectively and see what are the opportunities to do things differently now and in the future. The thing about growth is you can get so hung up on the whole mistakes thing, and I kind of touched on this in the last point, but instead of doing that, if you treat mistakes as being only things that you can learn from, and consider that the only true mistake is the one that you don't learn from, then it really does open up a whole world of possibilities in terms of reassessing your past and looking for all of the opportunities to grow. And let me say from this as well, you can learn just as much from what you don't want to have happen or what you don't want out of life as what you do want to have happen or what you do want out of life. Sometimes thinking back on the past and the negative things that have happened to you or around you can actually really help to guide you to think about how you might want to do things differently in the future. And I think that's a good thing. I think, there is a level of acceptance that needs to come with the past. And that is definitely something I've talked about quite a few times. I talked about it in the podcast in episode 36. But it's also about saying, okay, even if really bad stuff happened, what can I do with that? How can I use it to grow? You may not be able to resolve all of your challenges for yourself by looking back at the past and being that sort of objective viewpoint, but you can absolutely take some steps in the right direction. So let's move on to the next point. Try new things and be okay with making mistakes. The only way that you grow is by trying new stuff, because if you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you always got. It's about giving yourself permission to try them and to actually make mistakes. It's okay to fail. Failure is not the end of the world. I just talked about failure in the podcast in episode 84, and I'll link to that down in the description below as well. You can check out the audio or you can read the transcript on the Let's Talk About Mental Health website. Things feel uncomfortable when they're new. They challenge us because they push us out of our comfort zone. But when you stay in your comfort zone, what you get is comfort, and nobody grows by staying where they're comfortable. Change and growth are awkward. It's uncomfortable. It can be painful sometimes, but you need to get outside of yourself and try new things in order to grow. So push yourself every day to take little steps and try little things and ramp that up over time. My next point is read. Now, the thing I love about reading is, first of all, of course, from a fiction standpoint, you've got lots of different ideas and worlds that are created, and it's a great escape, and so many different genres that you can potentially read. So it's really good from a relaxation standpoint. But what I'm talking about here is reading non-fiction and self-development stuff. And the great thing about books, whether it's an ebook or a physical book, is you have all of these ideas that have been developed over years by the author or by a whole bunch of people, and they're distilled down into something that you can read in just a couple of hours or a couple of days, depending on how much time you've got available. So find books that work for you and find books that challenge you and help you to grow. Next, surround yourself with positive, growth-focused people. So when you're around negative people or people that are happy with the status quo, it can be really hard to find the courage that you might need to get outside of your comfort zone and to actually pursue growth and to be more. Don't let other people's self-limiting beliefs limit you. You're in control of what you do and don't do in this life. And trying to fit in is not a good enough reason for giving up opportunity, for holding yourself back from being the very best version of yourself possible. If that means that some people fall away from your life, so be it. Sometimes people are with us for a short period of time, and they are simply there as part of our journey, a stage in our journey, and sometimes other people are there for a longer period of time. Be conscious about surrounding yourself with positive, like-minded people who are growth-focused, who are passionate about being better, and who are looking for ways to improve every single day, because that will rub off on you, and it's contagious stuff. So now I have a bonus point. Find tools and resources that work for you. So I tend to be quite visual. So for me, watching a documentary or a YouTube tutorial works perfectly for me, whereas other people may be more auditory learners. And so you might find a podcast or an audiobook to be helpful. I also happen to know a pretty good podcast that might help you out if you're looking for one. here it is, and I'll link it to the description down below. And then a lot of people are kinesthetic learners, which means that you learn best by doing. And so for those people, you might actually find it much better to do a course or work with someone as a mentor for doing things that feel a lot more hands-on and practical in nature. Whatever you choose to do, find as many things as possible that you can and try things on until you find the things that work for you. Try lots of different things. So that's it for this week. Let me know what you thought in the comments below and what ideas work for you. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me a tree emoji because, well, you know, growth. So also give this video a like, and if you know someone who might find it helpful, please share the video with them. It helps for them, but it also helps my show to grow and it helps more people to discover the program. Thanks. Watch this video next for 10 things that you can do every day for better mental health, and subscribe to my channel for more great content every Wednesday. Also, catch the Let's Talk About Mental Health podcast every Sunday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care and talk to you next time.